Hello and welcome to another edition of Raw Out of 10 on the Wrestle Debate. On tonight's show, Drew McIntyre fought Angel Gaza and there were 3 men's Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Stay here to find out what we thought of each segment. Enough talking, let's get straight into it. So the show started with WWE Champion Drew McIntyre giving a promo about the meaning of the WWE Championship and what it's like to hold it. He said that he decided not to make Seth Rollins jump through any hoops and will fight him for the title at Money in the Bank. Andrade then sneaked attack McIntyre after Vega, Gaza and Theory interrupted. Andrade then sneak attacked McIntyre like I just said, but ate 2 consecutive claymores for his trouble. This is a good start. Good to see the fans, like he said, finally getting McIntyre. Yeah, the only concern I have is that Andrade and the crew might be losing too much. For a new heel stable, they shouldn't really be losing to Drew every week like happened at the end of the show. We'll get into that. But overall, pretty decent start, so I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Our first match was a Money in the Bank qualifying match between Austin Theory and Aleister Black. Aleister Black won after hitting Theory with a black mass. After the match, he was interviewed about how he'll win the Money in the Bank, even though he doesn't know much about corporate life, but each floor of the WWE headquarters will be held for his opponents, because of course the Money in the Bank ladder match is taking place in WWE headquarters, and you have to get to the roof to win it, in case you didn't know. But this was a decent enough match. Enjoyed it. The only problem again is Theory and Co losing, but yeah, good enough match. Can't really ask for too much more. To find it quite ironic, Vegas shouting at Black, if you know, you know, for the proper smarks. But I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Next up was Shayna Baszler against making her debut from NXT, Indy Hartwell. Before the match, Shayna Baszler is interviewed about quote-unquote breaking Sarah Logan's arm last week. She didn't think she went that far. I was surprised to see Sarah Logan mentioned, because she was, of course, released, but although there was a news article earlier saying that she would be coming back to WWE, maybe to do a quick story with Shayna. But anyway, into the match, Shayna Baszler defeated Indy Hartwell by referee stoppage like last week after Shayna stomped on Indy's arm. Afterwards, Shayna continued beating up Hartwell, ultimately putting her arm through a ladder and then kicking it. This is going to get a 4 out of 10 for me. I just don't like the way they keep on stopping the match. It makes the wrestlers look weak, especially someone like Indy Hartwell on debut and Sarah Logan. And it doesn't really put Shayna Baszler over too much either. It's much better to see her destroy opponents for a couple of minutes than put them all away. So 4 out of 10 for me. I didn't like it. Next up, a fairly quick match between Cedric Alexander and Ricochet and Brandon Vick and Shane Thorne. Of course, Alexander and Ricochet won. Alexander pinning Thorne after a lumbar check. Very average match this, like you'd expect. Would like to see Alexander and Ricochet push more, but just grading it on this single segment, it was alright. Nothing less than alright, nothing worse than alright, so 6 out of 10. So the match, we had a couple of backstage segments. First one was Asuka and Kairi Sane had a backstage interview about Sane's rematch with Nia Jax. Asuka said tonight nobody would be ready for Kairi. Like, nobody ready for Asuka, but just nobody ready for Kairi, because you know they're friends, yeah. And then in the Performance Center gym, Bobby Lashley said he was going to demonstrate how easily he could flip a tractor tyre. Lana said that if you're jealous now, just wait until you see him in action. Weird one this. He continued doing this throughout the night. Just delayed the inevitable with them breaking up, really. But I'm not going to grade those 2 segments. And we're going to move on to Nia Jax v Kairi. So Nia Jax won again, hitting the Alienator for the pin. That wasn't the main talking point from the match. Nia did a horrible botch where she tried to throw Kairi Sane into the turnbuckles. Kairi Sane missed, and it could have been very nasty. I do like Nia, but she's got to cut out these mistakes, and for that reason, have to ignore the match and give it a 5 out of 10. Next up, Seth Rollins cut a promo from home about how he and Drew McIntyre have a lot in common, but Seth is a proven leader, which Drew is not. He accepted the WWE Championship match for Money in the Bank because the WWE Universe needs a leader. Then there was a short video clip of the Viking Raiders driving an SVU together. And MVP cut a promo in the ring, putting over Apollo Crews as a gifted athlete, but saying he'll beat Crews because of his superior experience. Good that he's excited for Rollins v McIntyre at Money in the Bank, and I thought MVP did a pretty good promo, put loads of other people over, which was good, but I'm not going to grade it because not too much to grade on really. So yeah. Speaking of MVP, he then had his Money in the Bank qualifying match against Apollo Crews, with Apollo Crews coming out on top. Crews won a competitive match with the Blue Thunder driver to pin MVP. Good enjoyed this. Good to see Crews finally getting some sort of push, and MVP putting him over was probably the right decision, but it was still a very good match, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. Next match was two former members of the Riot squad, Liv Morgan and Ruby Riot, battling out. The other one's released and has a broken arm according to WWE. Before the match, in a backstage interview, Ruby Riot said she was the one who did all the work in the Riot squad, and that turned out not to be the case, because Liv Morgan won a match against Ruby Riot, which in all fairness, Liv Morgan was probably the second best in it, but Riot's ego got the better of her, I think they said on commentary. And yeah, Morgan won by pinning Riot after hitting a flatliner. This was good enough, good for all the other storyline reasons, so I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. Next match was the final Money in the Bank ladder match between Rey Mysterio and Murphy, but before that, back in the gym, Bobby Lashley was all warmed up to flip the tyre. Lana called him hot, and then Lashley flipped the tyre. Then he revealed an even bigger tyre that said no one could do it, and he would attempt it later on the night, and you can guess what's going to happen. But moving on to Rey Mysterio Murphy, Money in the Bank qualifying match. Mysterio pinned Murphy after a falling splash after the 619. Good match this, very back and forth, two great wrestlers, so what else can I give it except for a solid 7 out of 10. So what, another quick promo leading into a match. Zelina Vega and Angel Gaza had a backstage interview where Vega was upset about Drew McIntyre attacking Almas again when he was already hurt, and added that it would be a shame if Drew didn't make it to Money in the Bank because of what Gaza may, but probably will not, definitely will not do to him later on. And then we moved on to Charlotte Flair defeating Katie Carter after Carter tapped out to the figure of 8. Another quick match. Didn't like this. Charlotte's going to bury the women on NXT in quick fashion. Kaden Carter was always promising, and now she seems to have been buried a bit. So 5 out of 5. 5.5 out of 10, not 5 out of 5. 5.5 out of 10, below average that is. That's because it was shit and I didn't like it. Get it? We were then back in the gym for Bobby Lashley when he finally flipped his tyre, and I mean finally, I could have probably done it quicker than him. Trust me, I'm not very strong at all. Lana ran in and fawned over him afterwards. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to grade it. It was just there. Didn't really understand why it was there. Lashley looked kind of strong, although he did take his time, so not as strong as he could have looked. But there you go. And then we moved on to Andrade against Akira Tozawa. Andrade obviously won, but Tozawa dominated for a long proportion of this match. And at the point, I thought he couldn't win, could he? And he didn't win, but it did look like it. Andrade hit the hammerlock DDT off the top turnbuckle to pin Tozawa. Tozawa looked good in defeat. Andrade didn't look too good at victory, but a win's a win, so I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. A quick match next between Bianca Belair and Santana Garrett. Bianca Belair obviously won with a KOD. The Street Profits were on commentary and danced with Byron Saxton. After a commercial before the match, Montez Ford introduced Bianca Belair, and he and Dawkins joined commentary, and all they did was cheer for her. I mean, it's pretty entertaining, but I don't want to listen to that for 3 hours, so don't get any ideas about putting the Street Profits on commentary, please. But that'll get a 6 out of 10, average again. And it was a squash match, so it's going to be a 6 out of 10. Winky wink. And it was time for our main event, which wasn't brilliant this week. Drew McIntyre defeating Angel Gaza. After taking out Austin Theory and Andrade at ringside, Drew hit the Claymore to pin Gaza. After the match, he hit Gaza with a second Claymore to make a point to Zelina Vega. Austin Theory got in the ring, and guess what? Drew Claymored him too. There's two ways of looking at this. Drew looks super strong, but on the other hand, Zelina Vega's new faction looks incredibly weak, spending a lot on time on TV and losing most of the time, or very competitive matches against mid-carders like Tozawa, or even lower mid-carders like Tozawa. So yeah, it's a hard one, this. I'm a negative person, so I'll look at it the negative way and give it a 5.5 out of 10, because I would like to see them doing more with Andrade and co. 5.5 out of 10. So overall this week, for the first time, I'm going to give Raw below average and a 5.5 out of 10. I mean, there were some good segments like Mysterio and Murphy and the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, but I just didn't like the way they were squashing Andrade and co throughout the show, and Nia Jax's botch that took it down a bit. Just as Nia Jax is starting to get going, weird segments with Lashley, some of it was just very strange. So I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. There were some good bits, but on balance it was a pretty poor show. But that's all for today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Link to Twitter in the description below. Subscribe to the sister channels, F1 Journal and the Wrestle Debate. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.